I'm going to give a quick disclaimer for this video. This story is political, and if that isn't something that you're comfortable with, then please skip this one. If you find my views don't match yours and you want to leave a hateful comment, go ahead. This is my channel and this is my voice. You have yours. So, alright, let's begin. The Prisoner by Elias Lamshaw. Part 1. They call us traitors to justify what they do to us a little easier. It's better than a bullet to the head, I've heard it said. It's not. A bullet to the head is quick, merciful. This is a slow, miserable march into non-existence. Pete, Barry, Connor, and I sit atop the wooden boxes that serve as our toilets. The real toilet stopped working 6 months ago, 4 months before I even got here. The wardens don't care. Why fix them when a box works just fine? The runs are making their way through camp again. It's a weekly occurrence at this point. Barry is taking it the worst this week. He can barely keep anything in, and at night he wets the bed too. His face is pale and his skin is cold and feels like clay. He's dying. We all know it, but there's nothing that can be done. He'll be just another statistic in a few days, and then they'll give his number to someone else. Some other poor fool. There's no privacy on top of the boxes. Modesty died a long time ago here. We sit together, the four of us, and others too. We talk about the world outside. What's it like out there? It's only been a few months for me, but the memory of what life was like before this is fading. Pete has been here the longest, 6.5 months. He shows it in his unnaturally thin frame, hollow eyes, and weathered skin. He's 32, but he could easily be confused for 50. His bronze skin no longer burns as much anymore from the long hours of sun exposure, but he's hardly immune from the swarms of mosquitoes. His skin is covered in hundreds of tiny red welts. We all are. There's nowhere to escape from them. Barry throws up again, the third time in the last 20 minutes. He cries and we try to console him, but there's nothing else to do but wait. Within 2 hours he is unable to move much. His face is now the color of snow, and death stands at his doorstep. He has no more tears to cry, so he just stares at the ceiling of the tent. His breathing is so faint and ragged that I can barely tell if he's still alive at points. It's not fair, he finally whimpers. It's not fair. I don't want to die. It's not fair. None of it is. Not a second of our time in this rotten hellhole. Not the countless victims who have died in here for nothing. Not the endless misery we suffer. He grabs my hand and squeezes it. His skin feels like wax. His eyes stare at the ceiling, wide and full of fear. He launches into a coughing fit with a hideous rattle to it. There's gurgling, choking. He squeezes my hand as tight as he can, then falls limp. The guards don't care. I'm pretty sure they want us to die. They give us 2 shovels. Pete and I dig a hole in the thick, swampy muck near the fence. The guards watch over us, rifles in hand. If we try anything funny, they'll gun us down. The work takes a couple of hours. We drop Barry's body in the hole. No sheet, no casket. His blank, expressionless face stares up at us. He looks peaceful for the first time in days. Pete says a few kind words. It's not much. Far less than anyone deserves, but it's better than nothing. Better than the guards would give him. I shovel in the first scoop of mud. It lands on his chest with a wet slap. It splatters across his white face. His eyes don't blink. They don't even give us a marker. There's no point, they tell us. Right. No point. Because we're not people. We're animals. Cattle waiting for the slaughter. Part 2. Another batch of prisoners arrives 2 days later. It's strange to see someone wearing a clean prison jumpsuit with meat on their bones. They won't stay that way for long, though. They'll look like us soon enough. They look at us with terror in their eyes. They know we're their future. The guards assigned 6 of them to our tent. We don't have enough bunks, but there's no use in arguing the matter. If we piss them off, they'll make us suffer for it. The newbies ask all the same questions. The same questions I asked when I got here. They want to know what it's like, what's in store for them. They want us to tell them that it's not as bad as it looks. Sure, it's not. It's worse. They pick and touch at the brands burned into their shoulders. We all have one. The guards mark us when we come in. It's not to track us. They have other ways of doing that. It's about breaking you, letting you know that you're not human anymore in the eyes of the state. It's also the most excruciating pain most of us have ever felt. Most of the new guys stick together. Pete gives them the rules of the tent and introduces them to us. One of them tries to throw his weight around, but none of us are intimidated, and he gets the hint pretty quick. The dinner bell rings. We all get up and shuffle over to the mess hall. It's nothing more than a tent exactly like ours. A floor made of rotten wood sinking into the stinking muck beneath, and semi-transparent plastic walls. The only difference is that there's no bunks. Instead, there's plastic tables and chairs. The cook gives us each a ladle full of brown slop in a styrofoam bowl with a piece of rock-hard cornbread. Connor, Pete, and I sit down together at one of the tables. One of the new guys brings his tray and sits with us. "They didn't even give us any silverware," he complains. "How are we supposed to eat this shit without a spoon?" Connor and I laugh. Pete smiles. What a strange thing to complain about. That's what the brick they call cornbread is for. It'll help soften it up enough to eat it. "Are the guards really afraid we'll attack them with a plastic spoon?" he asks. Pete's smile fades. "Nah, they'll gun you down long before you even have a chance." He makes a sawing motion across his wrist. Same reason we can't have real bed sheets. Jesus. Jesus ain't here, kid. He never was. Not in this place. For a while the newbie eats in silence, then suddenly bursts up from his seat and spits out the bite of cornbread he took. "Son of a bitch, what is that thing?" Connor leans over and examines the small gray thing skittering across the table. It's a silverfish. Harmless. The bread is infested with them and weevils. The soup too. You'll get used to it. Think of it as extra protein. "This is a nightmare. This has to be a nightmare. I've got to wake up soon," says the newbie. "What's your name?" asks Pete. "Jordan," he answers. "Well, Jordan, I hate to tell you, but this isn't the kind of nightmare you can wake up from. So get comfortable." The first few nights with the new guys are always the worst. Most of them cry themselves to sleep. It's hard not to feel bad for them, but we've all been there. We cried our tears a while ago. Some of the new guys touch themselves too, but that stops pretty quick after the first week. Those kinds of desires die pretty fast on the inside. There just isn't enough energy for that kind of thing. Part 3. The guards come through early in the morning and pick some of us at random. They need people to work the fields. Pete and I get picked. We almost always get picked. It's no use arguing the matter. Doing so will only ensure that it continues to be that way, or worse. They shackle our hands and feet together, then march about 20 of us onto a waiting bus. A guard with a shotgun sits with us as we drive an hour to some orchard in the middle of nowhere. The farmer is an old fart with a large paunch and thinning gray hair. He points out to the guards where he wants us to work, and the guards march us out, unshackle our hands, and tell us to get busy. It's grueling work. The sun beats down on us, cooking our flesh on our bones. The bees and biting insects ravish us endlessly. We work for hours without stopping, plucking oranges from trees. Only once, after 6 hours of this, are we given a chance to rest and have a drink of warm water. It's not out of mercy, but appearances. It would look bad on the farmer if a dozen inmates suddenly dropped dead on his land from dehydration. We gather around the water truck and drink our fill. A few of the newer guys drink their water a little too quickly. It'll come back up soon. Pete is sure of it. "You know," says Pete quietly, "the guards have been a little lax today. I bet we could snag an orange or two." The thought of a fresh orange straight from the field makes my stomach gurgle. It has been months since I've eaten an orange, since I've eaten real food. I silently curse him under my breath for planting that seed in my head, because now I have to have one. He knows it and smiles deviously. The guards shouted us to get back to work. They cut off the water supply and motion us along. They don't leave the shade of their pop-up canopy while we once again descend into the orchard. I slip amongst the trees in search of the perfect orange and find it dangling just within reach if I stand on my tiptoes. Pete watches for the guards, but they never move. I pluck it and stare at the perfect orange sphere in the palm of my hand. This is my orange. Pete and I will enjoy this together. Throwing caution to the wind, I tear into the peel and split the orange into halves. We don't care that our hands are dirty from long hours in the field, but the juice stings a little in the open blisters. I wolf down the first wedge, but savor the next. Pete smiles at me with bits of orange strings through his yellow teeth. We hunch like goblins over our perceived bounty, our heads constantly swiveling about in case someone is watching. When we're done, we bury the peel to hide the evidence. The bus comes again the next morning. The guards pick Pete and I again. Our muscles ache and our skin is on fire from the sunburns, but they don't care. We shuffle aboard the bus and take our seats. Through the narrow window slits, I catch glimpses of the outside world. Not so long ago I was there. Now it feels foreign to me, alien. The person I was before is dead. I am not human. I don't walk among humans. I am an animal. I walk among cattle. I feel tears stream down my face. Pete wipes them with his grimy fingers and shakes his head. "Don't," he mouths soundlessly. He's right. If I give in, if I let the gates open, they will flood. I'll crack and go insane. We've seen it before. The world passes by in a series of brief flashes. I shut my eyes and look away. It's too much to bear. It'll only lead to madness. But is that really so bad? Maybe it would be better to go insane, to lose my mind. The bus arrives at a factory and the guards march us inside. For the first time in a long time, I'm greeted by the sensation of cool, air-conditioned air. It feels divine on my burnt skin. A woman talks to the guards. She's our liaison for the day. Once I would have thought she was attractive. She's blonde, curvy, and the way her suit hugs her body would have driven me crazy. Now I can only see her eyes. They stare at us with malicious intent. I stare back with my own. You stare at us like we're animals. Maybe I'll show you what it's like to be an animal. Maybe I'll crush your skull, I think to myself. If we are to be reduced to animals, then I shall embrace it. I shake off the thoughts and look away. I can feel my mind slipping into dark places. Places I don't want to go. The work is menial and repetitive. Not the best thing for a wandering mind. I try to focus on Pete. He's my rock, an anchor in the storm. I can't comprehend how he does it. How he keeps it all together when his brain must be screaming for him to fall to ruins. It's for him that I push on and nothing else. He gives me a thumbs up. He knows where my mind is and is trying to lift me out, to save me. I push back the tears. Not today. I won't break today. A woman comes by to check on us. She's younger and different to the woman before. She has kind eyes and a soft voice, but there's a bitter edge buried beneath it all. "How are you doing today?" she asks. "I'm doing the best I can," I reply. Her eyes narrow, her voice lowers. "You have to hold on in there," she says. "There's people out here, on the outside, who are fighting for you. We're gonna change this. Resist." She turns and leaves. I curse her under my breath. Don't give me hope when there is none. My mind wants to travel to dark places again. I push through it and think of Pete. Lying in my bunk, I listen to the sound of mosquitoes, the sickly wheezing of the other prisoners, the incessant croaking of the frogs, and the buzzing of crickets. I can hear Pete's breathing from the bunk beneath me. He isn't asleep. He snores when he is. I whisper his name, and I can hear him shifting in the darkness. "What is it?" he whispers. I tell him about the woman and what she said. I ask him if he really believes that anyone is out there fighting for us. He's silent. Only the insects and the frogs respond. "Yes," he finally says. "And one day they'll set us free. We'll walk out of those gates, all of us. You, me, Connor, all of us. If he believes it, then I have to believe it." Part 4. The mosquitoes have increased twofold as the weather becomes wetter and the rainfall increases. The already damp soil has become a quagmire, and walking through it is a tedious affair. The floors of our tents sink and rot from the dampness, and one must be careful where he puts his foot or risk sending it straight through. Sickness is on the rise too. Malaria mostly, though there's a few cases of West Nile too. It's as inescapable as the swarms of insects who infect us. The nurses and camp doctors do little more than hand out anti-malaria tablets and strong words of encouragement. Connor is the first to fall sick in our tent, then Jordan. We do what we can for them, but the medicine the nurses give us is crap. It does nothing, and even if it did, it would only work if they were in a hospital. Out here in the muck with the swarms, it is useless. Jordan is the first to die. We find him in his bunk, pale and lifeless. Even still, the mosquitoes feed on his corpse. They are relentless. The deaths are too fast and too numerous to dig individual graves. Instead, the guards order us to pile the bodies in another tent, the inhabitants of which have all succumbed. The air inside is putrid. You have to hold your breath or risk becoming weak and lightheaded. Pete helps me place Jordan on top of the pile, and then we rush out, gasping and gagging for air. In the coming days, a second tent is filled. The stench from them permeates everything. Our tent, our clothes, even our own flesh. Swarms of flies create black clouds that dance across the sky from one tent to the other. The guards finally bring in a backhoe and dig a long, muddy trench along the far end of the compound, a mass grave for the people they've murdered. They order us into those tents to move the bodies. A couple of guys refuse. They've had enough and have gone insane from the sheer inhumanity faced before them. They charge the guards and are gunned down instantly. They're the first bodies thrown into the trench. I consider throwing myself against the guns. It's a faster death. Pete can see it in my eyes, or maybe he can read my thoughts. He slaps my face, shakes me senseless. Don't even think about it. We go into those tents. The clouds of black flies buzz around our heads as we grab the bodies. They fall apart in our hands, splashing us with their ichor. I can't keep anything down as we work. It takes 2 full days to clear the tents. We work in shifts. My mind goes blank and my body numb. I try to block it all out. The evidence is simply buried and forgotten beneath a layer of thick mud. The next day, a handful of buses arrive with new prisoners to fill the vacant tents. Connor lies on his bunk, skin pale and clammy. He'll be gone soon. Unlike Barry, he welcomes it. "I'm ready to get out of this hell," he says with a brave face. I can see it in the way his lips quiver, and the way his eyes shimmer that he doesn't want to go. He's afraid. He shouldn't be. Wherever he goes has to be better than this place. I wipe his forehead with the sleeve of my jumpsuit. He closes his eyes, chokes and spits. Then he's gone. I look over to Pete. He lies in his own bunk, face pale, eyes sunken. He hasn't smiled in a while. I sit beside him. "Is he gone?" he asks. I force myself to nod. "That's it then," he whispers. "You'll be all right," I say. "Of course I will." I fight back the tears. "You know, I don't know anything about you," I say. "In all this time I've known you, you've never told me who you really are. Why don't you tell me? I want to know." He coughs. It's a disgusting sound. "You gonna write my biography?" He laughs sheepishly. "Maybe. When we get out of here, we'll write each other's and make millions." He grins a little, the most I've seen in days. "We'll live like kings. We'll drink the finest wines and eat the best steaks." My stomach grumbles at the thought of real meat. "You want to know who I was?" "Okay. I was a writer once. A very successful one, too. That's how I ended up here, you know." His breathing is more wheezing than anything. "I had it all. Fame, money. I had a nice car, big house. Hell, I even had a boat. But I got a little too close to the sun. I started writing pieces criticizing the government. Subtly, of course. At first. I thought I was immune. Or maybe I didn't care. Looking back now, I think it was a little bit of both. My husband died of AIDS. They cut funding for the research in the early days. Then they cut his medicine. I watched him wither away in my arms. It broke something inside me. So I did what I'd always done when something hurt. I wrote about it. I wrote until my fingers bled, and then wrote some more." He laughs, a hollow sound. It's followed by a series of coughs. "They called it dissenting material, instigating violence. 2 days after my novel was published, I was here, as was my editor, publisher, and agent. They died in the first few weeks. They couldn't take what they were doing to us. They broke and threw themselves on the guards. I blame myself, of course. It was my fault they were here after all. I brought them down with me." I wipe the tears now rolling down my cheeks. He presses his palm to my cheek and I cup it in my hands. "Your turn." "I was just a kid living on the wrong side of town," I tell him. "I'd grown up poor and now I worked a dead-end job with no future. Paid way too much for rent. I was tired, you know. I wanted to feel like I had a meaning, a purpose. Then one day someone gave me a flyer. They said there was going to be a sit-in protest. I said screw it, why not? I went and it was peaceful. People were singing and waving flags. It was nice. Then the soldiers came. They fired gas canisters into the crowd. Everyone started running and screaming. They brought in police officers on horses to run us down. We didn't have a chance. When I die, they'll throw me in that pit of theirs, says Pete. They'll have finally taken everything from me. everything I have to give, except you. His eyes shimmer with tears. You have to hold on. You have to tell our story. Don't let them win. We are not the traitors. Part 5. The guards have abandoned us. There's no food, and the only water is stagnant, murky brown pools. I bury Pete behind the tent. I have to dig the hole with my hands and fingernails. When I'm done, I use some pieces of broken flooring to make a makeshift headstone. I can hear the fighting in the distance. It sounds like rolling thunder, but it never ends. Oily black smoke fills the horizon. Someone out there is fighting for us. How many days will it take to reach us? I feel my body growing weaker and weaker, but it's my mind I worry about. Without Pete, how will I stay sane? I can't comprehend it all anymore. What they've done to us. What they're still doing to us now, even as they've abandoned us to our fate. I lay my head against the wooden grave marker and close my eyes. I try to imagine the explosions as the thunder of a spring thunderstorm. I'll hold on as long as I can. Someone needs to tell our story when they get here. The world has to know who Pete and Connor, Jordan and Barry were. They need to hear my voice. I'll hold on, I whisper. Thank you for listening to The Prisoner. This was a story that I didn't really write for entertainment purposes, but because I thought I had to write this, I just had to get this story out. And maybe you don't necessarily agree with my point of view or the message that I'm writing in this story, and that's okay. You don't have to. I really hope that this isn't a view of things to come, but just a product of my imagination. Anyways, thank you for listening, and I hope you have a wonderful day.